Okay, what's going on guys? So we finally got a brand new exotic weapon in the game called the Wicked Implement. It is a 180 Stasis scout rifle in the primary slot with 15 rounds in the mag, and I have to say this thing is pretty good. It's that good that you can easily complete a solo flawless Grandmaster Knifeful with it, no skill involved, just sit back and shoot from a distance, because paired with the right build, you won't have any issues at all, at least for me in most things. Now if you're wondering how you actually get this weapon, you will need to complete the secret mission in the deep dive by getting the 3 exotic fish from each of the fishing areas, and then handing them in to a bunch of statues. There's plenty of guides out there, so it shouldn't be an issue of figuring out what you actually need to do, but that's your TLDR on how to get it. And by the way, you don't actually need to have the exotic fish. As long as someone in your fire team has done all 3, you should be able to start the mission and get the exotic scout rifle upon completion, despite not having all the exotic fish yourself, so just a heads up. Now in terms of the weapon, the way it works is you get 4 crit shots and this will slow the target. A few further shots of slowing the target will then freeze them. This will then give you a buff called Creeping Attrition, which is the exotic's trait, so rapidly landing precision hits causes the targets to become slowed, and because of this, our exotic perk, the Tithing Harvest, a precision final blow while that trait buff is active, will create a stasis shard that returns to you, and collecting that shard will refill the mag. There is a catalyst which you can get apparently from the deep dive playlist I believe. You just have to farm it and hope it drops on completion, sort of like the Aegis Scepter, but don't take my word on that. Now 2 things. Firstly, the amazing part about this scout rifle is that it pretty much can stun all champions, because the slow effect will stun overloads, and the freezing effect when you shatter a slowed and eventually frozen unstoppable will stun the unstopped. And with the help of everything just generally being frozen in the process of being stunned will actually help you out even more, even if it's not consistent, because if that unstopped just came out of a stun, you'll have a cooldown before you can actually stun them again, so just freeze them, wait a few seconds and then shatter it to stun him. So nothing is pretty much moving is stupidly OP. When you're actually going up against a barrier, I'd recommend just going all out with a stasis build, so they just constantly get frozen to the point where they just can't do anything. And you may think, well, why not just have a radiant buff? Well, the issue with that is that you can't stack it with artifact perks affecting stuns. So right now we have overload scouts, you actually can't stun a barrier while radiant, but if you had anti-barrier scouts or just in general didn't have overload scouts, I think yeah, that would probably work, which would mean this one scout rifle is stunning every single champion in the game. It's just crazy. The second thing is pairing this build with a good stasis build is really going to benefit the weapon further, because the stasis shards collected will refill the mag. All you have to do is have a build like the stasis warlock build here, where you just create hundreds of shards and walk over them and constantly have that mag filled up. And you can even pair this with the elemental charge mod, so that you have that chance to get an armor charge stack by collecting shards too. So even without a stasis build, you're still benefiting from all these stasis shards created by the exotic weapon, which is quite consistent in in-game content. But with a stasis build, you're going to take this weapon to the next level. Now in terms of PvP, I ain't a PvP player, so I won't get into this too much, but personally I wouldn't take this into PvP unless you really got the distance on enemies. For a 180 scout, it's just not worth running in PvP for its TTK, and honestly half the time you're probably not going to make use of the exotic trait slowing and freezing enemies, because you'd probably have already killed them by the time you'd actually pull off that effect while playing against people in PvP. So not for me, but let me know what you guys think. For PvE, I think it's great in in-game content. I actually used this in the Devil's Lair GM yesterday, and it did good, because ads are so tough that you're going to constantly get those crits and activate those buffs. And then because of that, you're going to constantly make use of both the exotic trait and the perks to then refill that mag constantly. Honestly, this is a really good scout rifle in my opinion, and everyone should get this ASAP. Also, pro tip, use Izzy if you're going to do the exotic quest. You'll melt the boss with over 5 minutes left on the timer. Let me know what you guys think of this exotic down below, and until next time, have a good one.